Well, it's no secret Utah has gone through a wild winter season here. Record smashing snowfall and water accumulation up in the mountains. There's a ton of snow up there right now, and all of it's got to come down, and there's a lot of talk about flooding and getting prepared and ready for that. And I live in an area that's not uncommon to flooding, even in non-record breaking years. So what I want to do is show you one thing that I've done this year to help mitigate any potential flooding at my house. Here we go.
Another day and yet another record set for snowfall in Utah. Alta Ski Resort now reporting more than 900 inches of snow this year.
It's been a season for the ages here in Utah, and it's not over yet.
Right now, we're just trying to control the water as best we can on a daily basis, and have seen good continual function here. But yeah, something last night happened.
To their houses, many of these homes just weeks away from being finished.
Carter took a quick ride in the creek, an adventure for only the most experienced paddlers.
Now, what I'm about to show you may not solve all my problems, but it will certainly help should we get some water that gets anywhere near the house. So first thing to know is that there is a French drain that goes around the perimeter of my house, and that perforated pipe sits right at the top of the footings of the house, and it goes all the way around the perimeter, and the ends of those pipes converge in the window well right there. So let me take you down there and show you what I've done and what is there and how any water that gets into that window well will be discharged. Now, as you can see, I've got some piping coming up and out of the window well here, but I want to show you the difference between the depth of this window well, which you can kind of see the foundation of the house underneath the window goes down about 3 feet from there to the top of a sump basin. And just to kind of give you an example of the difference with the other window well next to it here, you can see that all the material goes right up to the top of that foundation wall. So had to do a lot of digging to get in there and get ready for this basin and pump. Now, as for the basin itself, that's something I just picked up at my local Lowe's, and I'm sure you can find that at any hardware store, even Amazon. Heck, I'll throw a link down in the description if you want a basin. You can find a basin pretty easy. And there's a lot of options as far as pumps go too, and I have been a big fan of watching Chuck at Apple Drains for a long time, even before getting into this project. So shout out to Chuck. Thank you for all that you do and for educating people like me on basins and pumps and French drains and how all of that works and can come together, and how you can do it yourself. So shout out to Chuck. So that's actually what I went with. Chuck recommends the Zoeller sump pumps, and I went with a Zoeller. They do have those at the local hardware store sometimes. I got mine off of Amazon. Again, I'll put a link down in the description. You can check that out. I believe it's a 3/4 horsepower pump, and it is sitting in that basin, and I pretty much just followed his videos, so I again will refer you there for how that's set up. One thing that I want to point out is on the discharge of that pump, you'll find that there's a small hole that's drilled into the first part of the pipe from the release, the discharge line there. So that's actually per the instructions on the pump itself. It's a pressure relief, and that discharge line comes up and out of the basin through a check valve. So we have one-way directional flow, and we're not going to have any water go back towards the discharge line of the pump there. It comes up and out of my window well. I cut a hole into the window well to support the pipe. This is 1¼ inch PVC on the discharge line, and it runs out into my yard. And so I very carefully pulled the grass up from the yard, set it aside for later to be reinstalled, and ran the discharge line out into my yard. And the first time I did that, I initially didn't like how far it went into the yard. So what I did was extend that. I dug down back to the end of that discharge line so that I could cut the pipe and extend it further out into the yard. So as you can see, I'm still kind of on the mend here. You can tell only when you're on top of it, which is nice because when you're further away, as far as curb appeal goes, which is what matters most, right? You can't even really tell. So this square right here is where I initially had the end of the discharge, and I just have like a NDS grate on top there, which actually creates kind of a nice fountain when water is discharged. I'll show you at the end. I did test this and it's pretty cool. But I do need to just get some topsoil and backfill here. And then here you can see where I extended it another about 12 feet or so further out into my yard on a downslope too, I might add. This is a downslope. It slopes away this way into this trench here that separates the property line. And this is a notoriously dry area of my yard. I do get heat stress in this area often, and I do get some dry spots here. So if we are going to discharge water into the yard, this is a great place to do that. So that's where it discharges, and here's some footage from the initial test so you can kind of see what it looks like. I think it looks pretty cool. So there you go. One thing that I've done just to kind of feel a little bit better prepared, I do have another pump down in my basement in case any surface water happens to find its way in the house. I can pump it out. We do have a couple of creeks down the way here in the neighborhood. My parents' house is actually 2 doors down from that creek, so they're getting prepared too. There's sandbags all set up over there. I have had some neighbors down in here that have experienced flooding over the past few years where we haven't even had to worry about flooding. So it's going to be an interesting spring for those of you that are in the Utah area. I hope that you're doing all that you can to be prepared and to get ready for this. There's a lot of water up in those mountains and it's got to go somewhere. Thankfully, it's going to be filling up our reservoirs. It's going to alleviate our drought quite a bit and kind of give us a nice reset. So there you go. That's just kind of an update of one of the projects I've been working on here. I've got a lot of other things to show you that's going on. I've even started my own lawn service business, treating yards. I've got lots to talk about there. Lots of things to update you on. I've been really busy, which is one of many reasons why I haven't had a video out in a while. So if you're not already subscribed, make sure you're subscribed. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or need any more information, leave a comment down below and I'll be happy to respond to that. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.